Hi, everyone. My name is Julia,
And I'm Katie.
and we're the hosts of the Runways and Byways travel podcast. So today we're doing something a little different. A couple of weeks ago, I asked a question on my blog on the Instagram at Runways and Byways. I asked in my story for people to respond and give me questions that they have about travel, any question that they'd like me to answer, and I would answer them on the podcast. So here today we have that episode. We compiled five of the questions. We went through them all and we picked five of them, and we're going to be answering those five today. So, Katie, do you have anything to say about that?
I'm just really excited that we're bringing the audience into today's episode because I just love interacting with those of you who are listening. It makes us feel connected in a way.
Yeah, we've actually been wanting to do something like this for a long time, so I'm glad we're finally able to do this and hear from you guys.
Definitely.
Okay, so are we ready for the trivia question?
I am ready. Are you ready?
With my track record lately, I don't know, but we'll
I
see.
feel like you always do well.
I feel like not the last few questions.
I've been getting trickier.
I know you have been. I liked the beginning. You were pretty easy.
And then I realized you're really good at trivia and I had to up my game.
Yep. Bring it.
Okay. You actually might get this one. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
The question is, which country is home to the world's tallest building?
Okay. I feel like I might know it, but also it might be obvious. So, um, I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah. I
good
mean,
answer.
I'm not going to answer now anyway. Answer at the end. I still have
Yeah,
time. Yeah. But I think I might know what it is. I'm just afraid it might be the too obvious answer.
okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
We'll see.
Yeah, think about it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So are you ready to jump right in?
I'm ready and I'm really excited because I have no idea what the questions are.
Well, yeah, you do. We went through the list. We picked them together.
Okay, well, I was trying to be like mysterious.
It's not working. I already told everybody we know the question.
Okay, well, we know the
Although
questions, but you
in
don't know the questions.
in your defense, I have the list of questions in front of me and you don't.
I do.
Not.
Okay, well, you ruined the mystery. You've broken the fourth wall.
Everyone's probably so confused right now. Let's just begin. Okay.
Okay.
What is your favorite and least favorite place you've traveled to and why? Okay.
Hmm.
So, for my favorite, I I'm always stuck between two destinations. I'd like to hear your favorite and then I'll say mine.
Yeah,
Or you're having the same dilemma?
it's hard because what does favorite even mean? Like, I feel like I've had favorite moments of each place I've traveled to, but it's hard to say that one destination was my absolute favorite because they could all be so different.
Yeah, I agree with you. And also like I think the people you travel with also can make a
Mm,
destination your favorite, even though it's not technically your favorite place. So I think it's kind of a hard question to answer, but I think if I'm talking about just the destination itself, not my experience with other people, none of that, I would probably say either Japan or Galapagos Islands.
okay,
What do you,
interesting.
where's your head out?
I forgot that Galapagos Islands was an option. I love the Galapagos, but I would honestly not say it's my favorite just because a lot of the traveling was hard and a lot of the tasks that we had to do were very strenuous on the body in terms of swimming and hiking,
Hmm.
but it was very beautiful. I would say my favorite, this is so basic, but you know what I'm going to say is Ireland. Even though I didn't get to experience it in the way that I want to in the future, there's just something about it, the nature, the people. It has such a good mix of fun to history to nature, just everything. I think that is my favorite destination I've been to.
Yeah, we all saw that one coming.
I think we did. So you say it would be Galapagos or Japan? Would you care to elaborate?
Yeah, I do think I am leaning towards Japan more now that you state your reasoning about it not being Galapagos, because I do feel the same way that I loved how unique Galapagos was. And it was really exciting to see all those animals that you just read about in elementary school. But at the same time, I do think it was really strenuous on my body. And
Mhm.
I got a very similar experience from Japan. It was such a different culture. It was all new things, things I've never seen before, things I never experienced before, but at the same time, it wasn't like strenuous at all. It was just walking through cities and seeing history and culture, and it was beautiful. And it was totally different. I felt it like I was in a completely different world as opposed to when I go to Europe. Sometimes Europe feels like America in a way because it's structured similarly, but
Mm.
Japan was just complete 180. So
I really need to visit Japan soon because between you and Michael, it's like
I
Japan is
know
the epitome of everything.
I loved Japan, and I think I do want to go back to Asia just in general because the only place in Asia I've been to is Japan. I'd like to see how it compares to other places in Asia because I just love Japan so much.
Mm.
You really do need to go.
I
Well,
really do because I feel like it's not even on my radar, but I feel like if I went there, I'd be obsessed with it.
yeah, see, the thing is, it wasn't on my radar either, but I think it
Mm.
should have been, and I think it should be on everyone's radar. It was just amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely have to do that soon.
Yeah, I think a lot of why I liked it so much was because it was just so unexpected that like I wasn't even really planning on going. I just went because my friend just coerced me into it and I was like, whatever, I don't really want to go. And then I didn't have very high expectations out of it and it just turned out to be so amazing.
Right. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so definitely I highly encourage that you go. I mean, I know we had our plan to bring our kids there in a few years, but
Yeah. Oh, because we want to go to the Toy Story Hotel.
yes, I'm dying to go there.
That'd be really cute. We should do that.
Yeah, I also want to go to the Toy Story hotel in China. They have one
Okay.
in Shanghai.
Oh, we should go.
Yeah, we can make that because they're right near each other. We could just make that a second leg of the trip.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah, and then we'll get two Disneys out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. Can't get enough Disney.
Then we might as well go to Hong Kong too and get the third Disney.
Oh my gosh. With all of our kids, I don't know. It's gonna
I
be quite a
know.
trip.
Well, in a few years, I don't think we'll have that many kids. Probably like one or two.
We'll see.
Both, yeah, I don't know about you.
Okay, so what do you think your least favorite is?
That is a lot harder of a question for me. I'm gonna let you go first for real this time.
Okay.
Unless I don't know if you know, but I think this is a lot harder for me because I try to see good in every destination.
Me too. That's why it's hard because I don't like to be, oh, this is my least favorite. You know, I'm kind of caught between two. I'm gonna say two, and I'm gonna explain why, just so that one doesn't feel like bad that it's the only one. At least it has like a friend.
Oh God.
So I think for me, and again, I truly did have great moments out of both of these trips, but I think one for me is Charlotte, North Carolina,
Mm,
just because I think I had such high expectations going into it. And I didn't expect it to be so city. And
yeah.
I just felt like it was very city and but I'm from a city and I just feel like New York has more to offer. So Charlotte's just like a small city with not too much. I still had a great time. I went to a rodeo show. It was not a rodeo show, it was a square dancing thing, and it was just really fun. And it had like a bull there, so I rode on the bull. So it had its fun moments, but I just think in terms of expectations, it was not met. And the second place where the expectations were not met was Hawaii. And we briefly discussed it before. It's just the expectations were so high. And then when we got there, there was just so many tourists, so many lines, so many things that just went wrong. So I think for me, a destination being my least favorite is just because of the expectation going
Yeah.
into it.
That's kind of where my head was at too, except Hawaii was on my mind as well, and also Italy for reasons we
Mm,
discussed in a previous episode. If you were listening, you know, I had a rough time in Italy. I've been there twice. The first time was really nice. The second time, not so nice. So I think even though Italy itself, I do think expectations are set a little high. It's very crowded, it's very hot. The water
mm,
tastes like milk. It's like, yeah, it's not what you really expect it to be. You're expecting like just luxury and romance, and it's not really that. It's kind of crowded and sweaty, and it's not always what you expect. And I feel like it was the same with Hawaii. We were going into it expecting luxury and peace and quiet and
hmm
beautiful clear water, which I mean we did get, but a lot of our expectations with that trip were not met. So I do think I have a similar feeling to you with this question, as I do think these are both good destinations. I think it's just our expectations that kind of killed them for us.
Right. So it's just hard, some t trips are just going to disappoint. It just kind of is what it is, really. I feel like there's nothing we could have done too much differently with that.
Yeah, no, I think we did everything right. And I think I did everything right in Italy too. I think it was just the situation that I was in. I mean, that
Hmm.
just happens sometimes. Sometimes you just don't have control of the situation. And I would never tell anyone, don't go to Hawaii, don't go to Italy, because I think they're both great destinations. It's just for me personally, it didn't work out the way I expected it to. So those two places in my heart always just have like a little like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, whenever anybody brings up Hawaii, I say, it's beautiful, this, that, but manage your expectations. If you're going to go to Honolulu, don't expect beyond relaxing vacation. Honestly, expect to make reservations in advance, expect to wait on lines, expect for it to be crowded. You can still go, but just manage them a little bit.
Yeah, it's just not like this deserted, tranquil island like I think you were expecting. Because I had been there before. Me and you went together, as you know. I don't know if our listeners know, but I had been there twice before me and Katie went. And it was not, it was very different when I went with my family. It was a little more calm. But I also think that was because it was before COVID and people weren't rushing there. But it does have more of a city vibe than you'd expect.
Hmm.
So no matter what, you are getting something a little bit that you don't expect. And because the first time I went to Hawaii, I was like, oh my gosh, like why are there these big tall buildings? I just was not
Hmm.
expecting that at all. And it wasn't nearly as crowded, but it just still was more of a city than I saw in my mind. So I think, yeah, I think managing expectations is a big thing with having a favorite or least favorite place. I think avoiding having a least favorite is just managing your expectations.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready to move on to our next question?
Yeah, I think we answered that.
Okay. The next person asked tips for packing with three question marks.
Okay. So, do you have an answer? Because I know I do.
We have discussed this before. Katie and I have very different methods of packing. And
Hmm.
me personally, I just, I don't know. I spend a long time packing and stressing, and I don't think you do that, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So I think your method might be better. I believe it or not, like as much as I travel, I just still have never found a way that's comfortable for me. I do use packing cubes to try to organize my stuff, and I know a lot of travel bloggers recommend that. But as for taking the stress out of packing, I still haven't found the hack for that. Katie, if you have any advice.
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to packing, I think of the trip, I think of the things we're going to do, and then I plan accordingly. So let's say day one, we're in Hawaii. What are we doing? Okay, we're hiking in the morning. I need a hiking outfit, sports bra, workout equipment. Great. In the afternoon, we're going to a nice dinner. Make sure I pack one to two, maybe even a third dress that I could choose from and then I could use throughout the trip. So that's kind of how I plan, just day to day. What am I doing? What are the things I need? I write it all down and I'll literally be like, day one, this, day two. And then do I need any toiletries? What kind of things do I need to bring along for me to do those activities? So I think once you list it out and you see how manageable it is, you realize, okay, I have all of these things. Great. Let me just quickly put it in a suitcase. I'm done. It never takes me more than half an hour to do it. And honestly, every trip I've been at, I've always had enough. And if I didn't, there's always stores nearby. You can always get at the airport if you forget something. So you just really need to make sure what you're doing and what will make you feel comfortable to wear and also confident every day. And that's pretty
See,
much it.
that's interesting because I also do that, but I have a very different outcome. I do sit down and I write down all of the each day, what I'm doing each day, and what, like, even what the weather is. But I don't know. My brain just gets so clogged. And I'm like, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? I
Mm,
think I overanalyze. So, I mean, I think my best tip would be based on what Katie said and what my experience was. I think my best tip would be just don't question yourself. Just if you feel like it's right for that activity, just pack it, just throw it in your bag because I overanalyze and then half the time I wind up with the wrong stuff anyway. So I think no
yeah.
matter how much you overthink, there's just certain things that you can't account for. So just do what your heart feels, list everything out, be logical about it, but don't be too logical about it.
Yeah, I really don't think it needs to be this whole stressed out thing. I think it should be a fun thing. Put on a podcast, put on some music, and just put on a timer and say, okay, after half an hour, am I really going to stress out about this? Let's kind of like start to wrap it up because I don't think it should take much longer than that,
Yeah, it
in my
shouldn't. And
opinion.
I've seen you forget things, but then I've forgotten things too. So in the end, like, who's really right here? I'd say probably you, because at least you're not stressing, but I am. So
I mean, I think the things I forget are just like so simple, like shampoo, conditioner, but those are the kind of things you can get at the hotel. Those are the kind of things that you could just quickly buy or, you know, anything like that. I really feel everything is manageable unless you're going in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, I do think it's completely manageable no matter, yeah, pretty much unless you're going middle of nowhere, like you said. Because
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, there is stuff everywhere. Unless you forget like a medication or something, then
Mm,
pretty much everything you can get wherever you are. I think just make sure you have the absolute essentials, make a list. I do have a list in my 30-page free budget travel planner that I've made. I do have a general list there that you could also add your own things to. So that I have found useful is just using a list template and then
hmm.
adding my own things that are important to me. That helps me to remember things. So I do think making a list is really important, though. I think everyone should be doing that.
Yeah. And then beyond that, I really wouldn't stress out about it too much. Like I said, if you forget one thing, you forget one thing. As long as you have your phone, your passport, wallet, ID, I think just make sure 100% double check, triple check the essentials that you actually need to get on the plane for. But then little things like socks, underwear, like make sure you pack it. But I mean, do you really need to go so crazy about those little minute details? It's really not worth the stress.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, just as long as you have the things that you need to get there and back and the things you need to survive, like your medications. That's really it.
Yeah, which I think is very easy. So,
Yeah, so I should really take my own advice here.
yeah. So we'll see.
Okay, is that all for that?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple. I don't even want to get convoluted about it because I don't want anyone else to get stressed about packing. It's a very easy process.
Okay, so our next question is, how do you deal with a long flight? So, Katie, do you want to start on this or do you want me to start?
I mean, I love me a good long flight. I really do. I just love to sit and just to think about things that will make me happy in that moment. I feel like some people get really stressed, but I think again, it comes to thinking before the plane. What do you think you need? So, are there any books you've been wanting to read? Go to the library before going on a trip and really think about books that would make you happy. Bring a journal and you could journal, about your goals and things that you don't get to do in your day-to-day life. I feel like planes can actually be such a fun time because you're forced to sit with yourself. You could watch a movie, that'd be fun too. You could listen to podcasts, make sure you download some things, YouTube, music, all that stuff. But I also feel like I said, this could be a really fun time just to sit with yourself, think about how you want the trip to go, visualize it. And yeah, I do like long flights. I think they're good.
You are right about that, about kind of taking time for yourself on a flight, though, and the whole journaling thing, because we've done that together. And I don't really do that myself on flights, but whenever I'm with you, I find myself doing that. And I
Yeah.
remember on our flight home from Hawaii, I actually like figured out my whole plan for my life. And I realized that I was enrolled in a school that I didn't want to be in. And my life was heading,
Mm,
I was enrolled in a doctorate program that I didn't want to be in. And I realized that on the plane through journaling with Katie. So I think just it's a time that you could even just be introspective and just take that time for yourself, time that you normally wouldn't take, because that was actually like a huge moment for me to be like, I'm headed in the wrong direction. Let me change things. But I think beyond that, beyond just keeping yourself occupied, there's a lot of things you could do to keep yourself comfortable, like wearing the right clothes and
mm.
choosing the right seat and wearing compression socks so you don't get a blood clot, things like that. Also, I have I have back issues, so I always bring a lumbar support, something that I can use for that. They sell these, I know I have two sort of things. I have this blanket that could also transform into a pillow that you could put behind your back. And I also have one of those neck pillows that like folds in on itself that you could use as a pillow to put behind your back. So I think
Hmm.
comfort is a huge thing. And I think you may have tons of activities to do, but if you're not comfortable, it still could be a miserable flight. I actually did write an article on this on my website at runwaysandbyways.com. So if you want to check that out, you could see all the tips that I have for keeping yourself comfortable on a long flight. But Katie, do you have any commentary on that?
I do actually. That's a really good point. I forgot about the clothes to wear to an airport. I think everybody's different. I feel like sometimes people want to be so beyond comfortable, come in, sweats, all that stuff. Then you have the opposite. Some people want to feel so beautiful and they literally get a blowout the day before your travel and they want to show up in this beautiful dress and all that stuff. So I think whatever works for you is totally valid. For me, what I've realized is my preference, which I'm going to start doing every time I go on a plane, is like I used to just wear like leggings and a hoodie and I'd be so uncomfortable in the airport. I'd be so hot and I would just feel gross even though I was quote unquote comfortable. I would just feel like disgusting, not cute, not confident.
Hmm.
And what I've started doing is I wear leggings underneath and I wear a long skirt because I just feel like skirts are just so cute. They make me feel so pretty. And then I wear a short sleeve, like what I'm wearing now, a little crop top. And then I wear a sweater on top. So if it gets cold on the plane, I could put on my little sweater, or if it's hot on the plane, I take it off. So I think it's important to dress for the changing temperatures between different, like between the terminal and being on the plane and the destination. You kind of have to think all the different temperatures you're going to be in.
Yeah, you're right about that because I have found myself at very different temperatures between the terminal and the airplane. I'm always cold on the plane and I'm always hot on the terminal.
There we
So,
go.
yeah. So I always bring a
And
jacket, but I always wear two pairs of pants because my legs get so cold on the plane that I'm just willing to be a little hot in the terminal so I'm comfortable on the plane.
that's so funny.
Yeah, and then when we get to the destination, if it's hot, I just strip one pair of pants off. We're good to go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like sometimes we don't think about that. For example, if they're going from New York to Florida in the winter, they'll show up in the terminal with the big winter jacket. And I'm like, I'll risk the walk from the car to the terminal without a jacket because when I get to Florida, I really don't need that anymore. So I feel like it's also important, just like I said, to think ahead to the different temperatures you're going to experience
Yeah, and that's
and
almost
what's
like
more sustainable.
a packing tip too. Like you don't need to bring things if it's only for like 3 seconds, then you're just wasting space.
Exactly, yeah. So I guess that kind of also goes along with tips for packing. Just be smart about where you're going, what actually works for you. Like, do you want to dress up? That's fine, but is it going to be sustainable for your personality type?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is that all we have to say for that? Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I mean, like I said, I feel like it could just be such a fun thing to do to have a long flight. I feel like it shouldn't always have to be something that you dread. You should sometimes go into it like, oh, look at all the things I get to do on this long
Yeah,
flight that I don't get to do at home.
I know you hear from so many people, they say like, "Oh, what am I going to do on this long flight?" And my friend and I were planning a trip for this summer. It didn't work out, but we were thinking of going to South Korea. We're not anymore, but we we were talking and she was saying, "How am I going to handle this long flight? I've never done this before. I don't want to do a long flight. I'm really nervous about this." And I told her like it's what you make it. If you
Mm.
bring things for yourself to keep yourself comfortable and to keep yourself occupied, it could actually be a really pleasant experience. It doesn't have to be like I'm stuck here in this one spot for 15 hours. It could be something really fun or
Yeah, for sure.
not always necessarily fun, but like maybe just like mentally rewarding or just
Yeah.
relaxing even.
Well, I remember when I was going from North Carolina to Florida to see you, my flight was delayed for 9 hours, but I was so thankful for myself. The day before, I decided to go to Barnes and Noble and I picked up this book and I was so into the book. I finished the whole book in those 9 hours, but the 9 hours went by so quick because I was so consumed by the book. So, like I said, if you plan ahead to something that you know would give you joy personally, like I said, like podcasts, music, whatever, it does make the time go by so much quicker. So really think ahead for your future self because your
Mhm.
future self will thank your past self.
Yeah, if you know you're going to be on a long flight, you should have books lined up. You should have podcasts downloaded, movies
Hmm.
downloaded, because
Headphones.
I've actually wound up on a long flight with no TV and
Hmm.
I didn't have anything downloaded on my phone because I just figured they're obviously going to have a TV. It's over 6 hours of a flight. Of course they're going to have a TV, and they didn't.
Never
So,
assume.
yep, never assume. So, and it was a pretty popular airline too. It wasn't like one of those small ones. So you would really think they would have one and they didn't. So yeah, never assume, always come prepared. And then it's better to be over prepared than under prepared, especially when
Exactly.
you're going to be stuck on a flight for that long.
Yep, for
All
sure.
right. So next question is tips for traveling with an acquaintance. And I know we've discussed this a little bit on a different episode of our podcast. I think it was called Travel with Friends or something along those lines. I guess maybe we should discuss how traveling with a friend maybe differs from with an acquaintance. I do think there's certain things that you need to establish with an acquaintance, even with a friend, that you should always establish things before going on the trip. You need to establish your expectations with the person, what you both want to do, what you both don't want to do. You need to know what those differences are before you get into the trip itself.
Definitely. Yeah, I was going to say expectations is the most important thing because even if you're going to the same destination, there could be so many different things to do there. So it's really important and different money to spend there, right? Like we could both be going to Hawaii, but if I'm more of a budget traveler, you're more luxurious. But I didn't realize that until we got there, then that's going to be an issue and it's just not going to be a really good trip. So I think it's important if you're going with this acquaintance, what is the reason for you going with them? Like, do you have to go with them? Is it more just like they were like, oh, come along? I remember one time this girl who I hardly knew was like, oh my gosh, we should just go to California and go to Coachella, I think. I was like, oh my God, that sounds like so much fun. And then I thought about it and I was like, am I a Coachella girl? I could be, maybe with a friend, but this girl I don't really know. And yeah, I want to go out, make new friends, but is this the type of place I want to go to? And a week later, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do this, you know. But like I said, like if I was going to go with you or somebody who I was really, really close to, I would feel more comfortable having that conversation about expectations. But with an acquaintance, it's a little bit more awkward, especially if she invited me. She'd expect me to do all these things where I'm just not comfortable. And it's just a weird conversation to have with someone I'm not close with.
Yeah, I think because the whole premise of Coachella is like such a party scene, and then it's hard to tell someone that when you get there, like, hey,
Exactly.
I'm not into this party scene, you know? So
Like, can we leave a little bit early? Because I'm in bed by 8, but they don't know me. So they were like, wait, what? But with you would already have been like, oh, I already knew that. I wasn't even thinking we do that because I know you need to be in bed by like 10, whatever.
yeah,
So
if I was
yeah.
taking you to Coachella with me, I'd know we're missing all the acts at night.
Yeah. Exactly. Or if you were like, Katie, you have to stay out late, you would already know in the morning we're probably not going to be doing that much because I only have so much energy to give. But with a friend, with an acquaintance, you should never assume they know these things about you. Even if it seems obvious to you, it's not obvious to them. So
Yeah, they're not always going to get it. And especially like you mentioned before, I'm kind of backstepping a little bit, how you mentioned like if you might be more of a budget traveler and they might be more of a luxury traveler. And when you get there, they might want to do something really luxury and you can't afford it because it wasn't in your budget. I think that's really important to discuss before you go because budget travelers can do luxury things if they budget for it. But if a budget traveler shows up and they already have their budget, they can't do that, you know? It's not always possible. So I think it's especially important to know what the other person plans on spending during this trip and know what you plan on spending. So that way when you get there, it's not like, oh, I thought we were going to go to this really expensive spa today. I thought that would be nice. And then you're like, well, it's not in my budget, you know? So
yeah.
that really needs to be established from the get-go.
For sure. And I think it's really important to be mindful and not just to jump straight into things because I'm the type of person, if somebody says something fun, I'm like, I am there.
Yep.
Then, like I said, once I actually sit down with myself and I'm like, is this fun to me? It's really not, even if the idea of going is fun. So then I need to like kind of harness that. I'm like, okay, I do want to do something with this person. Maybe it's not traveling to California and going to Coachella. Maybe it's literally just going to a coffee shop in New York City, and that's enough for me. So I feel like you really need to know yourself, slow down, and be mindful before traveling because it's a bigger deal than you think it is to go a long distance with someone that you don't really know very well.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to put those people pleaser feelings aside and think, is this actually going to be exciting for me because sometimes traveling with someone you don't know might not be, because you might be very different or you don't know what to expect. So if you're not really planning on establishing those boundaries before you go, then maybe you just shouldn't go,
Yeah,
because
I
it
agree.
it, it might
So,
ruin the trip.
yeah, I think for this person who's asking that question, really sit down and think, is this something you want to do? Or do you feel like you're just doing this because you want to make a new friend? Because there's other ways to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And right now, like I just met a new friend in Florida. We haven't met in person yet, but we've been talking, and she's big into traveling too. She has her own travel blog, and I'm hoping maybe one day we can get her on the podcast. And we're both very into travel, but rather than just booking a trip and running off together. We're first taking it slow and just doing like a little day trip or meeting at a coffee shop.
Mm,
Like it doesn't have to be like that, because right now she still pretty much is an acquaintance. We've never met in person. We've just been talking over text. We have to get comfortable first. We have to kind of know what each other's boundaries are. And then from there, maybe we can say, like, hey, you seem like someone cool to travel with. But I think,
yeah.
yeah, from just not really knowing someone that well, you really need to find out more about them before you jump into something.
Yeah, I agree. I think baby steps are really important.
Yes. All right. Is that all for that? Anything else to say?
No, I feel like we covered that part.
All right. So the fifth and final question that we picked is, I've never planned a trip before. How do I start?
Mm, the loaded question.
Yes. Yeah, I know we've discussed this before, and it's hard to say, but I think the first thing you should always do is know what your priorities are. So that way you can allot whatever budget you do decide on to those priorities.
Hmm.
So do you want
Yeah.
to have anything to say about that, or
Yeah, I mean, if you've never planned a trip before, I really wouldn't start by doing something big. You can, but for example, like you want to go to Japan immediately, that's a big planning process, and there's a lot of things to consider when maybe you've never even been on an airplane before, right?
Hmm.
So I've never planned a trip before. How should I start? Maybe doing something small at first and kind of seeing how you feel. Who do you want to go with? What do you look for in a trip, right? Um, yeah, I would just go do something small first and then kind of see what you like, how do you feel traveling, and then maybe taking more and more steps. I mean, you can go to Japan right away. I just feel like, I don't know, might be a lot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's not to say that you can't, but I definitely agree that if you just take like even like a short weekend trip, or like maybe not a
Hmm.
day trip, but just like even just like a night in a hotel by yourself, just feel in a new area, just to feel like what it feels like to have planned a trip, and to know how you feel and figure out what your priorities are, figure out if you like being in that location that you're in, if you'd like to be more in a city or something like that. So, or if you would like a trip centered around food, so it become you that way you could learn. Or if you completely messed up planning that trip, you could say, now I know not to do all these things, and now planning my bigger trip, I could do XYZ instead.
Exactly. And you've never planned a trip before. Are you going by yourself? Are you going with other people? If you've never gone on a trip before by yourself, like Julia said, maybe a weekend, something you really want to do. If you've never gone with a specific friend, maybe just spend a weekend with them. I have my best friend. We've never really gone anywhere crazy. We've only gone to like closer places, maybe like Rhode Island, Atlantic City, just so we could see the vibe of how we are together when we travel. And, is a long distance place the best for us? I don't know. So I think it's really important to consider who you're going with. And like we said, even with the question before, just take baby steps with your trip at first, and then you get more and more comfortable.
Yeah, I think if you jump into planning something that you're not 100% sure about, or if you don't really know how to do it, if it's a big thing, it could have some consequences, because you just don't always know what to consider. And I also think if you've never planned a trip before, maybe start by going through a travel agent if you really want to go on
Mm,
a huge trip. Because,
yeah.
yeah, like if your dream is to go to Japan, you've never been anywhere before, I don't know, maybe you can pull it off planning it by yourself, but I think you would need to do a lot of research. I think going through a travel agent in that case would be the best. You could learn how they operate and how they've planned your trip. And then going forward, you could say, okay, they did this for me. Now I could do this for me going forward.
Yeah. And I was also thinking about us too, because we've done this for a while. And I remember our first trip together was upstate, just, just to see how we were with each other. And then our second trip that we went on that was a bigger trip was a Caribbean cruise, but it was easy. We hardly planned it. All we need to do was plan the flight right to Miami, book the hotel, and then you do the cruise and they did everything else for you. So, like you said, travel agent, maybe go with a group of people like you did with Globus,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, if you're going to Japan, maybe a Globus Japan trip where everything's already planned for you and you could just kind of join in. I know people who have gone to Italy using some sort of traveling with a group people or a cruise. That honestly might be an easier thing to start off with, especially if you want to do something big.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, if you absolutely are adamant about planning it yourself and not going through a tour group or an agency or anything like that, then I think you just really need to be mindful and learn about yourself and learn about what you're looking for in the trip. And then being careful with your money and allotting it towards activities that bring you joy.
Yeah, and look up reviews for things, if like I said, I keep on bringing up Japan, but everyone's talking
Yeah.
about Japan. But if you're gonna like book a tour, make sure you look up the reviews, look up, from the hotel. Like you have to think of every single thing. Look up from the hotel, how far away is it? Is it going to be an hour Uber ride? Do you want to do an hour Uber ride? Just kind of think about the little day-to-day details and look up reviews and see if that's possible for you. Because like when we planned Hawaii, there was so many factors that went into it that sometimes I feel like we're almost like over our head because there's so many things we didn't even consider while planning that trip.
Yeah, I think you almost need to walk yourself through every single day. So put yourself at that hotel, pull up a map and say, okay, now how am I getting here? How long is it going to
Mm,
take me to get there? Now that I'm here, what am I going to be doing? How much am I going to be spending? Do I want to spend that much? Maybe I'll do something else instead. How far is that other activity from the hotel? So you really need to think of every single thing, walk yourself through every single day, pretend you're there.
yeah, I agree. Because I think a lot of times people just want to be, oh, spontaneous. I'm just going to do this. Then all of a sudden, you're in a country in the middle of nowhere. There's no food around. Ubers are not answering, right? I know my brother's fiance, she was saying she went to Savannah and she went to a beach and they dropped her off, no problem, at this beach near Savannah, but there were no Ubers in the area. Every taxi service they called, they were like, we're not going to that beach. She literally had to cry to this one taxi service, please pick us up. We have no other way. And that's really stressful. And travel should not have to be like that. But,
Well, Katie, we've dealt
those are
with that
kind of things.
ourselves. Remember Hawaii when we went to that
Yes.
the we went kayaking to an island off of Hawaii. It's owned by Hawaii, but it's just like a little small island off the coast of Oahu, and we kayaked to it. And we kayaked to it from this certain beach. We got dropped off there, no problem. And then getting back, we never considered that it's just not a populated area. So they don't
Hmm.
mind driving us from Honolulu to that area, but those cars are not waiting in that area to drive us back to Honolulu. And that's just something we didn't consider.
Yeah, there's just so many factors to consider when planning a trip. Honestly, I would plan my own trip, but at this point in my life, I really do rely on pre-planned things like Globus or cruises. It's so much work to plan a huge trip by yourself. It can be done, but it requires so much research.
It really does, and it leaves more room for things to go wrong. So honestly, I feel like if you have the opportunity to let someone plan it for you, do it.
Hmm. Yeah, honestly.
It
And
usually
that's
winds
coming
up
from two
being better.
travel people.
Yeah. It 9 times out of 10, it winds up being better with someone else planning it for you than for you planning it yourself. That's not to say that you
Yeah.
can't. By all means, if you want to, go right ahead. And I encourage it. I think everyone should plan a trip in their life. But I do, from experience, I have found that if you go through a company, it usually does come out better.
Yeah. And I always say this, but accountability is such a big thing for me. When we planned Hawaii, the only people we held accountable were ourselves. When you go on a cruise and something goes wrong on the cruise, like if, transportation, whatever, that's on them. And you have full entitlement to complain and get something out of it, or but when it comes to us, it's like, oh, we thought this place was open today, it's closed, that's on us. But if a tour company does that, anybody else does that, it's like, that's on you and you need
Yeah,
to compensate us. Yeah.
exactly. Because, yeah, when we were trying to hike Diamond Head that one time, they were closed on Wednesday. We didn't know that. Oh well. But if we were with a tour, we show up to Diamond Head and they're closed. They'll probably schedule another tour for us or give us our money back for that part of the day at least.
Or that wouldn't even happen because they already know that Diamond Head is closed on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
it really shouldn't happen in the first place with the tour company.
Exactly.
Yes. So, yeah, I think moral of the story is you can plan a trip for yourself. It might be a little difficult, but you could do it.
You could do
But
it. You
and
just,
if not, there's a lot of resources out there for you to travel with other tours and companies to get you more comfortable with the travel experience.
exactly.
All right. So that is all the questions we have from our listeners and followers.
Wow.
Anything you
These
want
are
to say,
good
Katie?
questions.
Yeah.
No, I think these are such good questions and I love answering them because these are really important, and it's just, you might not think it's a big deal, but when you actually get down to traveling, it could be really stressful to think about all these things.
Yeah, and we did get some more questions, so maybe at another point in time we could have another Q&A episode, and I could post another Q&A on my Instagram for you guys to send in your questions, and maybe we'll be able to address some of those in the next Q&A episode as well.
Yeah, that'd be so
So
much fun.
more of this can come.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
All right, time
Um,
for trivia.
yes, trivia.
Okay,
Okay.
so let me repeat the question. Which country is home to the world's tallest building?
Okay. My gut is saying China. Then I second guessed and thought Japan, but I think I'm just gonna say China.
Okay.
Wait. Dubai, I feel like has tall buildings. No, I'm just gonna say China. It's
That's a good
Dubai, isn't it?
choice. It is the United Arab
Yeah,
Emirates. So you're
it's
right with the
Dubai.
second one.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Uh,
Oh, I'm so mad.
if it makes you feel better, I would not even have thought about that. I probably would have said China as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've heard that before, that they had the tallest building. And then that's why I thought of it for a second. And then I was like, you know what? China just has big everything. Let me just say China. And
Yeah, but
then,
if the
yeah,
answer was China, I probably wouldn't have asked it.
you're so right. That was my initial thought when you first said the question. I was like, she wouldn't have asked this if it was China.
Yeah.
Arrgh.
But when you
Okay.
said Dubai, I was like, no, because I feel like that's the most like you might not think of it at first. That's how you
Yeah.
know it's the right answer.
I knew that one.
Yeah.
Can I have like half a point?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, that was nice of you.
I'm in a giving mood.
Uh, I would have said no. That was really nice. Okay, I'll be nice
Yeah.
next time if you want half a point.
I never even am close to it, so
Well, if you're like close to it next time and I feel you're deserving, I'll give you half a point.
if I say something in the world, any country at all, I should get half a point.
Oh my God. You don't say Mars.
Yeah. Unless the answer is Mars.
Maybe I should make the answer Mars next time so then.
But then I'm gonna know now.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to ask about Mars. I actually
Okay.
don't. I really don't like space, actually. Fun
Oh, you
fact
were
about
talking about
me.
this, it makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, I really don't like space.
Yeah, I feel like, let's say like my mom or somebody I loved went to Mars, I wouldn't even really think they're like alive anymore.
Yeah, they'd be basically dead to me.
Yeah, because it's just you're just so far.
I know.
Like you're not even in Earth. Like what?
Out of this world. No, I am just not a space girl. You could never get me to space. And
Yeah, no.
future me is probably going to look back at this like when we're all living on Mars and be like, can you believe I said that? But it's it's true. I don't know.
I love it here.
You will never catch me in space. Mark my word.
No, me neither. And I get too existential. Like
Yeah.
if I saw Earth and I'm like, wait, I was stressing about my life when this is what the planet looks like.
I
Nah.
feel like now I'm thinking about those things.
I get like
Yeah.
that. There's this theater, it's called the Jones Beach Theater in Long Island. and I start to get very existential even when I'm just there
That's really
because you
weird.
could see no, I my
I've been
friends
there,
also
Katie.
no. If you go, you're gonna come with me.
I have been
And
there.
no, but when you see the person singing, fine. You look out in the crowd, there's like tens of thousands of people, and then you look out at the water and it's just black abyss, and you're like, I am just one of many. And it's very stressful.
I've never had that feeling at Jones Beach Theater.
Okay, well, you've never gone with me.
Have I? No, right? No, I haven't.
No,
But I've been to concerts with you.
those are fun.
Yeah. I didn't feel existential at them. Existential. Did I say that wrong?
I think
Whatever.
we only went to
No.
one together.
We went to that one that I got for free through T-Mobile, or like it was $25 or something.
Lady A,
Yeah, and that got Darius Rucker.
Darius Rucker, he was so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
And Russell Dickerson.
we only stayed for him and then we left.
No, well, we left, yeah, when Lady A was playing their last song. Because I don't
Their
care for
last
Need
song,
You
really?
Now.
I think
Yeah, I don't care about Need You Now.
we stayed for almost their whole set. I didn't realize.
No, we did.
Oh.
And then we left for Need You Now, but we heard it in the bathroom.
Yeah, I mean that was fine. I already saw them before anyway.
But did we ever see any other concert?
I feel like it's weird if we haven't, but we might not have.
I think it was literally just that one free T-Mobile concert.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've done so much together, but like normal friend things we haven't done.
Yeah, like going to a concert.
Yeah. I mean, like we've done it, but like not really.
We did one.
Yeah, but that also was like in the grass outside.
That was fun.
But it was really fun. But I feel like when you think concert, you think of like a big stadium, which we've never had that experience together.
No, we've never.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know to see who or when, but we'll do that.
Who do we both like?
Um, Probably no one. I'll be honest, I've actually been like really into screamo lately, which I don't think you're
Oh
into.
no.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to a concert anytime
Yeah,
soon.
I don't think so.
I think I'm still gonna have to go to concerts alone
I mean,
because I do
it
that.
might it might be just a phase, I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't
God.
know. But I know you're not into that. So.
No, I'm into music, but I'm not like a diehard fan of any one artist. I love Casey Musgraves. I went to go see her. But besides her, not really like, oh my God, I love this artist so much. I need to go see this specific person.
I feel like I would see Casey Musgraves.
Well, if you were here, you could have gone with me. I had to go by myself because nobody knew her.
You didn't invite me. I was there when you went.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. I remember when
Oh,
you went. And then I was like, you're going by yourself? I would have gone. And you were like, oh, too late.
okay. Well, next time I'll
Yeah,
ask
next time.
first. Yeah.
Yes, we'll plan in advance. I'm going to be in New York in May.
Okay, so maybe we can
Yeah.
go then. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I think I'll also be up in September near your birthday. Oh, maybe we could do a birthday concert
Okay, but
if
who?
anyone good is around. I don't know.
I saw Post Malone recently. He was so good.
I've actually been kind of wanting to see him. I've never been like a huge Post Malone fan, but I just feel like I've heard such good things about his concerts.
His concerts are incredible.
Yeah, I'd like to go.
It's just so fun.
You went to another concert recently, didn't you? You did. With like your friend Antonio.
That was the Post Malone
That was
concert.
Post Malone? Oh.
We had so much fun. I was singing. Like when you're at a concert and you just know a song, you're screaming. So it's like even like the song Better Now, when it comes on the radio, I'm like, whatever. But then I hear it, I'm like, you're probably saying that you are better now. Like I'm like screaming to
I
it.
know you like every song at a concert, even if it's your least favorite song when it comes on.
Yes,
It's
you
really
just you
true.
gotta dance and scream because everybody else is screaming and it's just so cute.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't had that experience in a long time. I feel like
Yeah, we should do that.
the last time I think I've been to like a big concert was I think like high school. I went to the Ariana Grande concert and we had like the worst seats ever. And like it was fun, but I haven't had that experience in so long.
Mm. Yeah, we should do it.
We definitely should. Let's
Yeah,
start researching.
definitely. That'll be our next thing.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. All right. So, do you want to tell everybody where to find us?
Okay, so you can find us at www.runwaysandbyways.com. You can sign up for my budget travel planner, which I just mentioned before. And then in doing so, you'll also be signed up for the newsletter so you can receive updates about the blog and the podcast. I also have a podcast specific thing you could sign up for. So you'll give me your name and your email address, and then you'll receive podcast notifications. Every single time I post a podcast episode, you'll get a notification. We also have travel planning on the website. So you were asking about travel planning, one of the questions. We can help you plan your trip. We can give you some destinations through Choose My Destination. We can give you recommendations, and we can give you advice. Now, to find us on social media, you could find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Pinterest, all at Runways and Byways. Or you could find us on Twitter at Runways and Byways. So instead of the word end, it's the letter N. And for podcast availability, as you know, probably because you're listening to us on one of these things, but I'll tell you anyway, we are on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, which actually has now been renamed to Spotify Podcasts. So I guess just Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. So you could find us in any of those things. I'm working on getting us on a couple more, but those are all the major ones that we're on. So good for us. And I think that is it.
All right. It's been fun.
Yeah, it has been fun. I'm glad we were able to answer everyone's questions. Well, not everyone's, but a lot of them. We were able to answer a lot of questions this episode, and I look forward to doing this again.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.